drawing of vascular bundle, one vascular bundle from the stem of ranunculus. The question asks you to draw and label the position of xylem. As we know that xylem is inside and outside, but we cannot determine which is inside and outside here. As I told you, that xylem always thick and big. Do you see? So this is xylem. So here is the xylem, here is the position of the xylem, and here is the position of phloem. You can also draw xylem like this with thick wall. You can show it to the examiner and you say this is xylem. And these are phloem cells. Okay. Here, name the carbohydrate that is transported into the phloem. Of course, it's sucrose. Okay? Sucrose. Whenever we see a transportation of sugar or a translocation, of course, it says what? Sucrose. Here is, I want you just to add another part, which is C, to write, describe and explain how source and sink vary in different seasons. So describe and explain how source and sink vary. They become different, or they alter in different seasons. And the answer in the mark scheme here is when we talk about potato tuber here, as in the summer it has big leaves, so the leaves are photosynthesizing, so leaves now are the source. The tuber is the sink. When it is spring, so the plant needs to regrow leaves again. Now the tuber is the source, while the leaves now are the sink since they are using the sugar. Okay, let's go to this question. Here is part of a root. Explain how the presence of root hair cells on root enables efficient. Of course, here we have 2 marks. Root hair cells enable efficient absorption of water and minerals. They have large surface area, or they are extension, so they increase the surface area for absorption. And also the second point, that they have mitochondria, to provide enough energy. As we know, mineral ions also are taken by roots by active transport. Here, root hair cells can absorb mineral ions by diffusion and active transport, mainly by active transport and sometimes by diffusion, but mainly by active transport. Define the term active transport. Active transport, the movement of particles against their concentration gradient, or from the area of low concentration to the area of high concentration by using energy. So 1 mark for against gradient and the second mark for using energy. Let's go to the next. Explain why respiration rate may increases in root hair cells during the uptake of mineral ions. Of course, the respiration increases when we are talking about mineral ions. We are talking about active transport. So active transport needs energy. So this is the answer. Now, let's go to see the position of xylem. Describe how the structure of xylem is adapted. These are the 3 points that are mentioned in the guideline. Xylem is adapted by having no endings of the cell wall. This is the first adaptation. The second adaptation, no cell content, no cytoplasm, no nucleus, no any other content. So the water and mineral ions can pass freely without any obstruction. The third adaptation, that it has lignin or lignified cell wall for support. Let's go to II. Describe the mechanism of water movement through the xylem. So this is the question. The question here actually talks about the movement overall. So you have to talk about transpiration, that causes transpiration stream or causes the pull from the area of high water potential, which is the soil, to the area of low water potential, which is the plant. You have to talk about cohesion And you talk also about adhesion or capillarity. Capillarity, as we know that xylem vessels are so narrow, so small. So when we have them so narrow and so small, so the liquid can be pulled easily through them. If they are wide, so the liquid may go down, may be pulled easily by gravity. So capillarity, because the capillary tubes or the xylem are very narrow, so they can make like pressure on the water pulling it up. Okay, so here talk about cohesion, adhesion, capillarity, and the transpiration effect causing lowering of water potential. But in the first question, when you are asked how transpiration helps water to move, you should not mention adhesion. Okay, do not mention adhesion. But when you are asked about the movement of water in general, you can mention it. So let's go to question 5. Shows a transverse section through an hemophilia leaf. This plant has very long roots. The second one, figure 4.2 of this 2, shows the cactus which live in very dry condition. Both of them, by the way, live in very dry condition. Here suggests how each of the following adaptations would enable the named plant to survive. The first one, rolled leaves with the stomata on the inside. As we said, rolled leaves in the stomata, they reduce the effect of wind, so the wind cannot come inside and blow away the water vapor, so the water vapor is kept as much as possible inside. So when we have water vapor a lot, that means we increase the humidity. When we increase the humidity, that means that the evaporation out of the leaf is reduced. So since there is not enough room for more water molecules to evaporate out of the mesophyll cells. Now let's go to 2. Thick waxy cuticle on the outside of the leaf. As we know, when we have thick waxy cuticle, that prevent or reduces water loss. Here we have only one mark. It is not acceptable to say waterproof. When you say waterproof, you are talking about the nature of the cuticle. Waterproof, no, you should say that cuticle reduces water loss, the role of it. Let's go to this. Very long roots in cactus, very long roots, of course, to look for much water as possible. A fleshy green stem. Fleshy means succulent. Fleshy means to maintains water. So to store water, the stem of the cactus is fleshy because it stores water in it. Why is it green? Green to photosynthesize, since it doesn't have leaves. So photosynthesis takes place inside the stem, or is taken place by stem. Suggest why having a few very small leaves could be disadvantage. Of course, when we have few or very small leaves, that means we are lowering the surface area for photosynthesis. So when we don't have enough area for photosynthesis here, so we are lowering the amount of glucose that is made. Okay, let's go to the next one. Seawater is involved in number of processes in a plant. Complete the table, naming the process. Here, if from the soil, description of process. If from the soil, movement of water from the soil. What is the process? Osmosis. What is the variable that if it increase would speed up the process? Of course, osmosis, when we increase the transpiration, if there is so much transpiration, that actually would increase the process. If we increase also the temperature, the light, all of these make more water loss. So more water loss leads to more pulling or more osmosis from the soil. So here you talk about any factors that increase transpiration. Okay. Using water from glucose, which is of course photosynthesis. Using water to form glucose, use water. It's a reactant to make product glucose, which is photosynthesis process. So in name of the process, which is photosynthesis, the variable, we talk about the factors that affect photosynthesis, which is light, carbon dioxide, temperature, chlorophyll, water, whatever. The factors that affect photosynthesis. We can talk about the limiting factors. Movement of water vapor out of leaves, this is a transpiration. Okay, a transpiration, we talk about the factors that affect the transpiration: wind, humidity, temperature, light intensity. Also you can add, you can say number and size of stomata. Okay, I hope that you get it very well. If you don't get my answers, you can repeat the video again and again, and you have also the mark scheme. I'm ready to answer you for any question that you want to ask. Send me on the private chat. Thank you.